Hi, everyone. I'm Marcus, Developer Relations at Edge and Node. And today's guest on the Graphic Builders office hours is Luis Ramirez from Astar Network. And he's going to be going through how to build on Astar Network with his workshop. But before we get into his workshop and his skill set and his teachings, what I'd like to do is go through a few announcements that are going on in the Graph ecosystem. And if I could do that right now, it won't take a second. We'll get through that real quick. The first one is, of course, I'm thinking, of course, of the meme of Bernie saying, if I could ask for your support again. That's essentially what I'm doing here. I put it in chat. The blog of the Sunrise Upgrade Program, if you're not aware of the Sunrise Upgrade Program, that is going on right now. There's 4 million GRT available as a prize pool for anyone out there that would like to participate in the upgrade program. There's technical things to do, there's non-technical things to do, and a lot of GRT to have as a reward. And that's really about getting subgraphs from the hosted service to the Graph network and truly decentralizing the data pipeline that the Graph is famous for. So I'm really excited about this upgrade program. If anyone out there has access to social media, send this out on social media, really get this out there. We're trying to incentivize decentralization from the ground up. We already know the chains are decentralized. We're now trying to have the actual data pipelines 100% decentralized with the Graph network. So really, really cool to have that. And then, of course, since I'm around developers here, this is Builders Office Hours. I was talking with a few different developers, and they're always saying, hey, can we have optimized subgraphs on the Graph network? And these 3 blogs are really good ways to quick start the optimization process of subgraphs. When we have subgraphs on the Graph network that are not optimized in their build quality, that can really affect indexing speed, query responsiveness, and we want to make sure those subgraphs are really, really quick and speedy. So please share these around with anyone that might be having any type of query responsiveness desire to increase that performance as well as indexing speed. And those are the 2 announcements. Oh, and then final one, time series and aggregations are live on the Graph network. So anyone wants to do compute in their subgraph, that's a really, really big feature that's been requested for years now. Time series and aggregations, check that out, start building on the Graph network. So with all of that to be said, hopefully that wasn't too long. I would like to introduce to the stage, we have Luis Ramirez here. And Luis, if you could say hi, introduce yourself, and I'll let you take over the microphone. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Marcus. A little bit about myself. I'm Luis here. I would say I'm a really, really noob DevRel. Been in the space since late 2018, 2019. Started with Ethereum and then moved my way over to Gavin's Woods, baby called Polkadot. But now I'm back over here in the Ethereum world, just because there's so much going on. Yeah, long time blockchain enthusiast, I would say, or just like tech enthusiast. Come from a background of architecture and education. And yeah, thanks for having me here today, Marcus. I really appreciate the invite.
Really happy to have you on. Really happy to dive into Astar Network, understand it better, and just learn.
Okay, so DevRel intern, we're kind of labeling myself. So apologies in advance if I answer every question. But I would say, am learning. So bear with me. And a lasagna enthusiast. I think if you have good recipes for lasagna, please DM me immediately. I'm always looking for the next best thing. So for today, divided up the presentation into 3 parts. Understanding Astar. I think this is it's going to be the longest part, being that it has a unique environment. The ecosystem, the Astar ecosystem, presents an environment for the builder, the developer, a pretty unique one in general in what I've seen around in the space. And you obviously can come to those conclusions yourself as well after the presentation. Part 2 would be a short part about building on Astar, at least getting started, a quick start. You'll realize it's not too different than what you see on Ethereum. And then the last part is why Astar, but really. So what makes it different than all these L1s or L2s that are out there? And so I would like to push this forward because there are some components of it that might be attractive to developers out there if they're looking for to work in an environment where there's, let's say, more enterprises or teams that are watching what developers are creating in this space. So I'll explain more further on. So to begin with, what's Astar? The mission, on, I would say from at least 2020, has been to introduce Web3 globally and initiate it from Japan. Our roots are Japanese. Our founder, Sota Watanabe, got interested in blockchain really early on and started recruiting a team there. But immediately also started bringing in folks from outside of Japan. And so we have a pretty international team. But we do know we have a unique position in Japan in that the government there is really using the word Web3, creating branches and divisions in their in the cabinet positions for Web3, and so it's pretty unique, and hopefully that keeps motivating us, and hopefully motivate some of you all as well. And there's certain fields that we are looking into more than others. DeFi, gaming, and NFTs, more so, sort of the creator economy. And Astar is more than just an L2.
And Luis, real quick question. The pronunciation, Astar, A-star, I just want to get that right.
I think one of my Japanese colleagues says it's decentralized, so you could say A-star or Astar, however you want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll go with either or. Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Either or is really fine. Even on the team, we pronounce it different ways. So it's more than just an L2 that came about. We started back in 2019 as we wanted to create a scaling platform for Polkadot, because Polkadot at the beginning didn't have a solution for scaling. Eventually, after completing some grants, we saw there was a potential for also being a smart contract platform for Polkadot. Polkadot being the layer 0 or the security layer, basically. We were the layer 1 on top of there, presenting a smart contract platform for developers to deploy their contracts on. So the actual chain itself, or the parachain, was launched in 2022, and it still it had a 99.9 uptime, so it's doing great. And then this year we launched the Astar ZKEVM, which I'll be talking about a little bit more in depth with Polygon. So we use Polygon CDK to bring this to life as our layer 2, and sort of stepping into the Ethereum ecosystem with our team, and it's going well so far, I would say. So this is what Astar is, primarily the layer 1 on Polkadot, or we call it Astar Substrate or Astar EVM as well. And then our layer 2. So a little bit about Astar Substrate without getting too much detail. We have two VMs, the EVM and WASM. So we support both Solidity, basically EVM and WebAssembly. So we have a language here called Ink. It's based on Rust that compiles into WASM, and you can create those smart contracts and deploy them here. And so we've had success on that front. There has been NFT standards for that Ink or that WASM smart contracts that have been deployed, versions, the ERC20 versions, and so on. So this has been going on since 2022, but the early work and our Canary network, or a form of a testnet, has been live since about 2020 or late 2020. The thing about this parachain is it's extremely low fees. And if anyone's following the Polkadot ecosystem, Gavin Wood is just put out a new paper, a jam paper, also bringing forth like the new tech. Personally speaking, it's a few steps far ahead, but it's always fun to watch and stay in tune with what's happening in Gavin Wood's head and the team's head too. So we have a parachain there where we call ourselves a leading parachain. Since market cap speaking, we do stand out as number one on Polkadot. And being a smart contract platform also just helps because a lot of things get deployed from there as well. So just to visualize it a little bit more, our Astar substrate or our chain that's on Polkadot is WASM and EVM compatible. You got your support as well for Rust, C++, and Go. And our EVM palette, which is the Frontier palette, supports those Solidity contracts as well, those written in Solidity. So it's a pretty robust parachain and working well. So we also have one other thing that we innovated with our previous CTO called the cross virtual machine. So this is where your WASM smart contracts or your Rust-based smart contracts interact and communicate with your EVM ones. So you're able to send the example we created and we showcased sending ERC20s back and forth between the two contracts. Smart contracts on two different environments. So it's fun. We see that as a stepping stone into what could happen later on in the future with interacting with WASM-based chains and protocols from the EVM side. Our layer 2, we launched this earlier this year in January, and it's our ZKEVM. So as everyone knows, we inherited Ethereum security. We have low fees. I think right now they're 1 to 2 cents per transaction. And the key thing here, it's powered by Polygon CDK. And it's an important aspect because we intentionally partnered up with them, push this forward, and be pioneers in what they're promoting called the ag layer. And I'll get to that momentarily. So the chain development kit is their kit that they're using with other teams that wish to deploy a customized layer 2. So we worked with them and in creating this. So we were one of the first to deploy with the CDK, but not the first. So it speaks to the talents of the team on Astar. Just want to brag about them too. The devs there are quite impressive, working on both sides. So Astar will also be a chain on Polygon's aggregated blockchain. So this aggregated blockchain, as it's saying, is aggregating all these different chains into one space, basically. So this will lead to a easier method to share liquidity between all these sovereign chains. And I have a graphic for that as well. So Astar will be one of the first to be part of this aggregated, blockchain community, I like to call it, that's living on top of Ethereum. And I think we'll all see a little bit more of news of the other chains that are coming aboard. There's an issue as well. Basically, it's this fragmentation of liquidity that we see already with all these layer 2s in existence, bridging I don't know how many times we have to bridge to participate in the next new launch of the next L2. But that's one of the things that Polygon and that we saw at Astar, something innovative and pretty neat. It's their solution towards this fragmentation. And it's what they call the AG layer. It's a neutral, decentralized service. It'll verify the chain states, aggregate all the proofs from all the chains, and then settle them all. And so their aim is to have all these chains connected. And so you're not having to bridge funds from L2 to L2. So as you can see, if you're a chain that uses the CDK, then you're directly connected to the AG layer. And if you're not using the CDK, they have provers connected to the AG layer for that chain. So this is where we saw potential in the Ethereum side of things, as we aim to hopefully innovate on this side and start showcasing these transactions from L2 to L2 in the AG layer, not just using other services to transfer funds. So everything acting as a single chain. So that's our focus for our L2, just a little bit behind that. And that really rounds out our current tech stack. The Astar substrate side on Polkadot, and our roll-up here that we created with Polygon and Ethereum. So when I said this creates a unique environment for developers coming into Astar, it really does. You have a lot of options to build and explore. A lot of things that haven't been done at all. WASM compiled contracts with EVM and communicating between those two. And this includes like DEXs written in Ink or that Rust-based language, and DEX that are based on Solidity, communicating to each other. So it's interesting, the ideas floating around, and that's what's happening there on Substrate with a few teams. And on the roll-up side, obviously the AG layer, which we have a lot of interest in. Any questions so far? Okay.
No questions so far, but keep on going, man.
Cool. So our aim at Astar is connecting back to our mission, expanding Web3, or, just the use of blockchain technology, exploring what it can do and pioneering in it. We wanted to tap into as much as the most advanced technology we could find, become experts in it, and then produce products and protocols for teams onboard the next use cases and enterprises. We're aiming for those businesses who have a lot of touch points with consumers, which we see that's a big need, as it feels like a bubble that we're in right now, sharing the same consumers. So reaching out to our Japanese connections on the business end, bringing them into this environment, the blockchain arena, and showing them and presenting to them different options. Some are there to innovate. Some are there to test the waters. So they might explore the ZKEVM on the Ethereum side a little bit more and see what kind of consumers there are there. But either way, again, this is all to present Astar and define what Astar is, this huge ecosystem, lots of options for the developers, lots of opportunities to collaborate on different fronts as well with the teams that are here. And yeah, bringing interoperability between the two sides of our products. Okay. So the building on Astar, ZKEVM, it's going to be really straightforward. You didn't see, I'll go into just the basics. We have a good, robust documentation on our website. And because we didn't have our own token, or we didn't change too much, we didn't customize it too heavily, our ZKEVM, we kept it as close as possible to what the experience would be on mainnet. So it's basically is the same thing as mainnet. You bring what knowledge you have. If you know Solidity, then kudos, because it's going to be exactly the same. We're constantly ramping up the tools and services. And again, here with the graph, it's another service that we provide our devs here. Also, one that we were excited to bring in because it was on high demand as well on teams. So we do have a testnet. It's called ZKEVM. We have an explorer for that as well, and it's made by our sister company, Startail. And Startail is basically slowly providing the infrastructure for our networks. It's a work in progress as well. So if there's anybody out there that likes the DevOps and maintaining the runtime and whatnot, we're always looking for new people, especially if you're outside of Japan. So our testnet connecting there. We use the ETH token. So again, we didn't launch a new token. We just use your ETH that you could bridge in from mainnet or from wherever you have it. And there's no special tools required to build or interact with our ZKEVM or our ZKEVM. Some more providers for the RPC. We got Startail, Gelato, and Dweller. Gelato we work closely with as well. Because they're also, innovating on this CDK front and with us in Polygon. And we have a block explorer as well for the ZKEVM. And it's just a matter of just switching over the RPC and start building. Our bridging, we partnered up with LayerSwap and Stargate Finance as well. If you wanted to bring in some of your assets, we have our native Astar portal, which serves as the front face of all of Astar. You can connect to ZKEVM. You can connect to, this is where the magic happens on Astar. You have your bridging, you have your ecosystem, where it has all the connections to the other teams that exist here over at Astar. Your bridging, switching over to different networks, the L1 or the substrate side, the pink, and the ZK right here. And then you also have access to the forum where a lot of the developers pose their questions as well. And we see some collaborations happening on this front as well. In general, Astar is going to be in the hands of all the developers. It will slowly turn into a DApp controlled blockchain. So a little bit different than what we've seen with other chains where the consumer or the token holder is really or holding the governance, right? We're in charge of the governance. So here we had an approach where our DApps are really the ones who are at stake more, have more skin in the game. So we have an ongoing discussion on how governance is happening here and how DApps actually have more say. So just a little bit of insight there on how Astar is working on that front. Testnet ETH. I think a lot of these might be familiar. QuickNode and Alchemy in the Infura faucets as well. And some of them have different requirements. But overall, you could also find these links in our docs as well. Tools. We recently teamed up with Sequence and Third Web. Since we have a lot of interest and we're getting demand people who want to utilize NFTs, non-fungibles more, and explore gaming. Sequence and Third Web really helped out over there. Then you have your classic hard hat and Open Zeppelin as well over here at Astar. So you can start deploying them if you have them on ZK. In our ecosystem, you got your infrastructure and your tooling over here. Wallet, again, some of the classic wallets that we've seen around in the space. You could have a overall view of the types of companies that we're exploring, different prototypes with, we'll call them, or experiments with as well. I'll jump into that too. Okay. And finally, the why we would like to invite developers to build on Astar, especially if you're interested on the more enterprise level associations that we're bringing on and we're creating relationships with. So as I started, we have a strong presence in Japan. This meaning that I think we hold about 70% of the market share when it comes to the blockchain chosen to build on, especially since we've been at it since 2019. Entity Docomo being a telecommunication giant, here in the States, it would be akin to AT&T or Verizon. They're investing $4 billion into Web3. And so we are collaborating with them and 12 other companies that are blockchain or Web3 centric are also collaborating in forming basically this new wave of Web3 in the telecommunication sector and industry. So there's definitely investment happening in the Japan front. And again, this is also supported by the government, the national government. Sony, we worked with them already last year and continue to work with them this year. We have our spin-off company, Startail Labs, who received a $3.5 million direct investment from Sony Network Communications. So, again, Astar and Startail Labs being at the forefront there with these giants in Japan. On the local level, partnering up or creating or being with Japan's national special strategic zones. We are working with 3 different cities in Japan. So how can Web3, how we like to call it, blockchain technology, how could they bring services or support, advancements, technology in these 3 cities? So there's always, I think we have regular hackathons that are happening in these cities and communicating with the universities on that level as well. Toyota, we did a hackathon with them. It was about a year and a half ago. Received 420 plus applications, 100K reward. This hackathon, I remember it being more DAO focused, DAO tooling. They had an interest in that. So what kind of tools can be built, especially for Toyota's workforce, which has 300,000 employees? How could DAO tooling be applied on that level and industry? So yes, I'll share the links. Here is the article, which has more links in it. So and they held their ceremony in a virtual world, or metaverse as they were called. Or they're still called, right? Okay. So this is again showcasing how at Astar we've continued to grind on this front, make those associations, connections, and use the leverage we have, because we do have a we do have a strong presence and people on the ground in Japan. So my colleagues and coworkers and many of the devs as well, working from there. The Sony incubation program. So this was great for developers as well, looking to get exposure to enterprise level, curiosity, as I like to call it too. So the Web3 incubation program spanned 3 months. 19 projects were chosen. And they had direct connection with Sony Network Communications. Then had over the course of 3 months, built the product with guidance from us at Astar and input from Sony Network Communications. So you could see some of the startup companies that participated on the right and the mentors here. Some of the mentors were VCs as well. And then the other thing that we're seeing too is these real world prototypes. So Calbee is a giant snack company in Japan. I think they hold 40% of the market share there. And they jumped into NFTs. So the developers and that were involved with this, obviously, we're taking a look at what type of NFTs existed, what kind of standards they're out there, nestable, you name it, right? They eventually created their version of NFTs that evolved. You had to scan the QR code on the physical bag and collect them as you bought them. And the person that collected, X amount of a certain type can win real potato chip bags as prizes. So again, just showcasing here types of products that are being built on Astar, and the real world applications that we're seeing as well. JR, Kyushu Railway Company. Been to Japan, or you've been to Tokyo specifically, you see JR everywhere. 331 million people use it. They launched their NFTs on Astar Network to boost customer engagement, and also just experimenting to see what they could do with it. Obviously, I think we also see experiments happening, and they see it as well, and it could be inspiring. So I think for the devs on Astar, the builders on Astar, it's nice to see these real world applications and us marketing it, because it is happening in that country compared to, let's just say, not happening in others. And some of the supporters, I think Google, Microsoft, Amazon, I think they're more common nowadays in Web3, and they might even just be giving credits out for some teams. But on the other front, LB, Sony, Toyota, Docomo, those are different types of associations we have, as I explained. 7-Eleven Bank is also another example of how they jumped into NFTs using their ATMs, and giving the opportunity to mint an NFT at the ATM and receiving another NFT as your receipt. And it would be shown as an art piece. So I could go on and on this, but again, this is again to show you that was in our two chains, our L1 and our L2, ZKEVM, and our substrate chain are being utilized for different reasons. And now we're seeing more activity on the ZKEVM side, because it's more accessible to the developers out there, for obvious reasons, right? We have like 8-9 years of solidity, learning devs. So if anyone's interested, again, in learning more about the projects that are here, learning about the teams that help these enterprises, please let me know. Feel free to reach out to me in my DMs, and happy to explain how the developers I see here at Astar create smaller teams and might be or are collaborating with other teams building in the ecosystem. Thank you, everybody. I hope that was a good informational segment on Astar. And if you have specific questions about the building part, let me know too. But I think it's pretty straightforward if it's not exactly like Ethereum.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your time. Yes, straightforward. I think that's the best compliment you can give to any type of workshop presentation. Straightforward, easy to understand, and helpful. So in the chat, I'm seeing Mike DataNexus saying, man, the USA needs to step up our game. And I agree wholeheartedly. I am seeing all of these different levels of integration within the different industries of, from potato chips to trains, where Astar is. And I think USA needs to do better. So I could see, your desire to head out of the States and see what else the world has to offer. I understand that. But yeah, I'm just curious where, right now the graph is indexing Astar or Astar, depending on how you want to say it. And you said in the beginning that was something that was desired. Yes. And so I'm curious where you see seems like there's these integrations going, and Astar is very forward thinking in terms of these partnerships. Where do you see the graph community as a whole, and also Astar network as a whole, growing in the next 6 months, years, 5 years? I'm curious where you see this going.
Yeah, querying and indexing, we just had to utilize it heavily for our campaign that's going on right now. So we use the graph to see about, it was 29 smart contracts. NFT smart contracts were deployed for this campaign, and they all sit live on our website, one of our websites, yoki.astar.network, if anyone's curious. So this is our ongoing campaign that will end in about 20 days with some of those partners. Here's like Mazda. So Mazda had their NFTs. They put on for sale. We enabled, devs did an amazing job by enabling, credit card payments or minting with ETH on chain. So these partners all created their NFT collection and sold it through this capsule machine, or in gachapon machine, as they're known in Japan. So I think we have over 1.5 million NFTs that were minted over the span of 2.5 months. When the campaign started. So we obviously had a lot of information out there, a lot of holders, and we have a current this is an incentivized campaign, so we're collecting data and taking snapshots. So this is just the tip of the iceberg of how we're using Graph in capturing all that data, making sure we have the correct addresses, changing the time frames that we do the snapshots in, and so on. And so this data collection that the devs are using and querying for is essential to us, because the operation it kind of grew pretty big. I can only imagine, like, for the future, for your question related to the future, let's say a loyalty system, a loyalty point system, or Japan Airlines, just hypothetically speaking, like, how would they start, collecting the data and making sure it's correct and using a reliable tool, right? And so I think those are the kind of associations that we make, and the kind of the reliability, because we use it and we recommend it as well when they start forming their teams or utilizing our partner teams, and working with them. So these are the types of things that I think will be in the forefront. These are the types of companies that will be utilizing these tools, or if not, they're entrusting us to decide to use them. because we recommend it. In Japan, it's common to grow this relationship over time, so things move a little bit slow. I'm generally speaking about the business side of things. Um, so this trust is built over time, and then when a deal is landed or something's agreed upon after building that relationship, then there is like a lot of trust involved there. So these enterprises that are working with us over the last couple of years um, have trust us to use the best tools to have an uptime, making sure it doesn't fall or turn off, and so on, because it affects their reputations, their image. And so this is why I think Astar is excited to have reputable teams like the Graph so we could showcase that as well. There's a lot of teams out there in my time here at Astar that come and approach us, good offers, you name it, right? But it's always the ones that have the right branding and reputations are the ones that are sought after or usually brought up, right? Just because of the way the Graph has done it over the years, and all the work they've done, they put themselves in a position where they're known. So I think that's why there was demand there to have a reputable team and product here at Astar, and that's why there was a push to have the Graph at Astar as well. That makes sense.
That was a great answer. And really, I mean, what you're showing me here has already got me daydreaming of, okay, what could be? And I think you've done your job very well, and just showing what's going on in Japan, and showing how the Graph ecosystem is helping your guys' vision as a full chain. And I think there's a really amazing synergy going on right now. So I'm just happy to be here and just witnessing the yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in chat right now. So chat, if there's any questions, now's the time. But what I do want to say is just thank you for your time, Luis. And I would absolutely love to help if you and any of your team have any questions about subgraph development. I mean, it's clear you guys already know, at least your team knows about subgraph development because they're already indexing a lot of stuff right now. But in terms of any of your communities, if there's anyone out there that would like to learn subgraph development, we're happy to help out. The entire Graph ecosystem is very helpful. And so, we got a question in chat, Luis. Best place for communities on Astar?
I think this would be our Discord, because we have representatives from all the NFT communities and the DAOs. They live in our Discord to get the most recent updates, especially about our campaign, so they could transfer that news over to their Discords. So we have channels for NFT communities, channels for the builders, especially the devs, both on the Solidity side and the Wasm side, the Polkadot side. So jump in there. I think it's very loving, and we have like about 20 to 30 ambassadors. We call them ecosystem agents that have been with us at Astar for almost over 3 years. So they're dedicated. They're not many, but they're dedicated. They're always there to help you. They're in all different time zones and in a lot of different languages. We're pretty international, and that's what really makes the community these ecosystem agents, because they have their communities that they lead as well in their languages. So yeah, jump in there. The apps data, like user growth and TVL. Yeah, that would be our portal. So here's the link. Portal start.
Yeah, and for those watching the recording, the question was the best place for finding a dApps data like user growth and TVL. And so we'll put those links in the YouTube video in the comments, not the comments, in the description.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I really enjoyed my time here. Hopefully we could do something for the communities over there at Astar too, and show them how to use the graph, which is super simple. So we could even use some of these contracts that are on the campaign, so we could it real time.
Yeah, I mean, if we'll keep on chatting, you and me, and let's continue fostering this relationship. This is really cool. I'm very happy to get to know you, get to know what you guys are building, and any way that this ecosystem can help, I know we'll step up. So, all right, man. Well, for everyone who has joined us today, thank you for your time. Thank you for your focus. And I wish everyone a great rest of their Thursday. And I'll see you on the next Graph Builders Office Hours. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.